and we pulled up the American Inns of Court Foundation in Durham, North Carolina, and they give the address and the telephone number, and this particular one was contributions are deductible, and it was an association, and they give the classification and the filing status, and it was non-profit. We found another one in Greensboro, North Carolina, the American Inns of Court Foundation, and it too was non-profit. But then we got into the North Carolina Bar Association, and it's a business league, and it was for profit. It was listed under Section 501c6. We found another one in Cary, North Carolina, and it gives the judge, the head one, it gives the asset amount, and these are all group affiliations, and they are in business. There's another one in Charlotte, North Carolina, in the American Inns of Court. Then there's a North Carolina Association of District Judges. Contributions are not tax deductible, and they're charitable organizations. That's what they hold them out to be. And they're a group affiliation, independent organization, or an independent auxiliary. And then, of course, they have, went into a lot of them. That's when we found out that the tie to the Inns of Court of England and to the Inns of Court in the United States.
I'm in.
Well, actually, in America, it should be America.
I'm in. Let me stop you for a second, because as you were saying this, lo and behold, here in Florida, there is a Tampa Bay Inn of Court.
Okay.
And it's TBIOC, you're going to love this, .brinkster.net. And on the home page, it talks about the English Inns of Court and how it all began in 1292.
Right.
So, folks out there, he's not blowing smoke. Go take a look for it yourself. As he was speaking, I went ahead and I did a search, and lo and behold, just like you said, they come up. The first one there was innsofcourt.org, which is what you were talking about. And then if you keep on moving down, you're right. You get state and regional ones that'll pop up.
Right.
Let me ask you this before we go on. Can hang on to that thought for a second. I don't want to make you lose that train of thought.
Okay.
One, this does really go back to Freemasonry, doesn't it?
Yeah.
High degree Freemasonry. Okay.
Right.
Second of all, I just want to share something with you. There is a group that's not very well known, yet it's been around for 103 years. Are you familiar with the Pilgrims Society?
I've heard of it. That's all I have. I really haven't delved into it.
Nothing for nothing, but when there's a book out there, and I was going to go to it before I spoke to you. I'm not going to worry about it. If you go to Amazon and look for Pilgrim Society, there's a modern-day, shall we say, biography of it, obviously authorized. But in the back of it, it talks about through the years, because it's another one of these Anglo-American establishment things.
Okay.
That Quigley doesn't talk about, though it was there, for Quigley to speak to, and he didn't. However, when they get back to the meetings through the years of all the luminaries who came, they talk about what was spoken about, like the title of the speech, perhaps.
Right.
But when it ever gets to any of the Inns of Court, like the Middle Inn or something like that, it says nothing.
That's right.
And people can go check it out for themselves if you want to get your hands on that book, but there is nothing ever divulged about the meetings of the Pilgrim Society in any of the Inns of Courts. Thanks so much for letting me get that in, and by all means, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, what it is the first chancel of the Temple Church was built by the Knights Templar. All right, it's not new. It's been around before they did it. But the Chancery and the Crown Inner Temple Court was where King John was in January 1215. That's when the English barons demanded that he confirm the rights enshrined in the Magna Carta. Okay?
Okay.
Now, this is really tricky. The City of London Temple was the headquarters for the Knights Templar in Britain, and where the order and the rule was first made. Now, this is going to really upset a lot of people, but
that's why we got you on.
The Vatican is involved in this big time.
Yep.
Now, why the Magna Carta can be considered crap. And here's why. I'm going to bring up a particular case I was in when I sued the company when I was fired. You can't use any of the Constitution and freedom of speech on a private company in any court. They'll just laugh you out of the court. Okay? But I had brought up a particular part of the Magna Carta in the case. And I had one attorney write to the other attorney, and I happened to get a copy of it. And after the case I lost the case, naturally. And after that, I was privy to a document that was given to me by an attorney. He shouldn't have. He didn't realize what he was doing, but I got it. And one attorney said to the other, and you were worried about the Magna Carta, this puts it back where it belongs, in the scrap pile. That's the exact quote, and I can remember it to this day. It goes back to 1987. And the reason why the Magna Carta was overruled is, first off, the king. Now, we're talking about the king now, not the crown. But the king was in a crusade. This was in the Crusades time, and they was fighting with the Vatican. In steps the crown. The crown fronted both sides. They always do in any war.
Mm-hmm.
And that made both the king and the Vatican the Pope. The Pope is a figurehead in the Vatican, just like Bush is today in
Sure.
this country.
Agreed.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the Vatican regime that controls the Pope and what is the inner workings that goes on. So they had fronted the money to the Vatican and the king, and therefore they controlled them. Now, what happened was the king couldn't sign the document which contained the Magna Carta on the rights because a sword was held to his throat. Well, anybody today, if you got a guy coming up to you with a gun and he points it at you and says, sign it, and you sign it, that's under duress, right?
Right.
Well, the throat and the sword of the king was under duress. And in August the 24th, 1215, the Pope issued a papal bull stating that the document signed by the king was a fraud because it was under duress. And he denounced it. And that's why, because he was afraid to lose his 600 pounds that was guaranteed him in the signing of this. So there is one instance, and you can find this because I've gotten this from the London Library. I couldn't go there myself personally because they wouldn't allow me in, but I had a professor from Clemson University that went over and pulled a lot of these documents for me and asked me what I wanted because he was going over there. When he got there, he come back and I got the original copy of the Treaty of Peace. And also, he was shocked when he found there were contracts and treaties and agreements made in 455 AD that are still alive and working today in the modern world.
Mm-hmm.
Now just think, if a treaty or a document goes back to 455 AD, still has ruling concepts on today's world, there's a lot of other stuff that people have no idea exists and why they are being controlled the way they are, and if they don't have this foundation, they're forever floundering around because they can't hit the nail, the head of the nail with a hammer. It's just all over the spot. So